Hello leaders, Patrick Jinks here, leadership and strategy coach and president of the Jinks Perspective. We are rolling out a brand new leadership model or framework for nonprofit CEOs right here, right now. Let's cue it up. All right, many of you are familiar with our 5x5 organizational matrix, which lists 5 essential elements or competencies that a nonprofit organization needs to possess. Some of you are even familiar with the self-assessment tool on the 5x5 organizational matrix. Some of you are even familiar with the board cohort assessment that we use when we do strategic planning. Well, it's been a while in the making, but we now have a sister 5x5 matrix that focuses directly on the nonprofit CEO, not the organization. Just like the organizational 5x5, the leader 5x5 consists of 5 pillars of nonprofit CEO leadership with 5 elements in each pillar. You can download the Matrix one-pager at the link in the video description below this video. Also, if you're a nonprofit CEO today or even an aspiring CEO, I've provided a link for you to take the self-assessment and receive a full report for free. In the meantime, let's dig into pillar 1 of this matrix, which is engagement and inclusion. It's all about the people, is it not? How a CEO engages a team of people has probably the biggest impact on the success of your mission. And as we talk about in episode 39, some of this engagement is internal, like with your employees and your board, and some of it is external, like your donors and community leaders at large. As I walk through the elements, the 5 elements in this pillar, I'm going to start with the question that the assessment tool asks, and then we'll briefly explain each question, give a little bit of context. The first element is staff engagement, and here's the question. Do you effectively and appropriately interact with and engage your staff, both individually and as a team? There's a lot to unpack in that question that we don't have time for in this short video. But in our executive coaching model, we have a 360-degree version of this 5x5 assessment, which makes it more useful for leaders to see how their staff perceives the answers to these questions. Do you micromanage your staff? Or do you go the other extreme of being so hands-off that you're not present with your staff? Do you develop them, coach them, recognize them, challenge them, connect with them, and support them? Many CEOs focus all their attention externally, to the peril of the culture inside the organization. So it's an important element. Number 2 is board engagement. Now, we've done a lot on board engagement on this channel, but this is different because this element is not about how engaged your board is, it's about how well you engage your board. The question in the assessment is, do you effectively and appropriately interact with and engage your board both individually and as a body? Is the board meeting the only time you engage with them? Do you consistently shape a path to their engagement? Do you connect with them individually? Do you delegate meaningful work to them? Do you develop them, recognize them, challenge them, support them? All of the stuff we just asked a moment ago about your interaction with your staff. The third element here is community engagement. And here's the question. Do you effectively and appropriately interact with and engage community leaders in your work? Now, we mentioned a moment ago that some CEOs spend all of their time external, but there are also those who dedicate all of their energies inside the office and don't connect with the community. As the CEO, you're the primary face of the organization, like it or not. You are the chief ambassador. How are you spending your energies, your resources, your time engaging the people in the community who can actually help advance your work? The fourth element in this pillar is donor engagement. And by now you know the pattern of the questions. Do you effectively and appropriately interact with and engage your donors in your work? It's unfortunate, but many organizations and their leaders don't know their donors. They might have a database of donors, but they don't know their donors. And I won't go into all of the research about how many touches a donor needs throughout the year. You've already heard all of that. The question here is, do they have a relationship with you? Do they have a relationship with you, the CEO? Now, I know, of course, that having a relationship with every donor isn't really practical if you have a lot of donors, but you can prioritize and you can engage donors who are giving significantly, donors who are giving consistently, donors who have influence beyond their gift. Engaging them is how you get more from them. And the final element in this pillar is diversity and inclusion. Now, these are words that get thrown around a lot, but they are real and they are critical. And we are talking about the big D diversity here, which means race and ethnicity is a part of it, but there are many elements of diversity to consider. Diversity of thought, diversity of background, race and ethnicity, geography, expertise, wealth, you name it. Here's the assessment question. Do you assemble, include, and engage diverse sets of people on your board, staff, and in the community? Diversity and inclusion is not just some social buzzword. There's research that makes the case that diversity and performance are connected. I understand that the responses to these questions are self-reported and they're subjective, although our 360-degree version is more useful, but they should at least get you thinking about where you can improve as a nonprofit CEO. Be honest with yourself if you take the assessment about these questions, because that's how you'll grow to the next level of leadership. That's the Jinx Perspective for this week. We will cover the second of the 5 pillars next week. And until then, as always, if you'd like to explore ways that the Jinx Perspective can help you or your organization achieve greater clarity, simplicity, and alignment in your mission work, reach out and schedule a free discovery call with me by clicking the link that's also in the video description below. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to this channel below and click the yellow bell icon to notify you when we drop new episodes. We'll see you here next week.